Here we go. Man, listen, have we got a show tonight? Welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. We got some hot topics and we got the best crew in the nation to talk about it. Starting off with the unmistakable, irrepressible voice of reason, Mr. Larry Abels. How are you this evening, Larry?
I'm good, Greg. Happy to be here, ready to rock and roll.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And coming next, the unmistakable voice of truth, justice, and the American way. My favorite Fox alumni, David Burnett. David, how are you?
I'm doing great. Waiting for the Final Four to come here to the great city of Indianapolis, or the frozen city of Indianapolis.
How about that? Well, at least you all know what to do with snow. We're in the D.C. area. We haven't learned yet. I'm 66 years old, and we've never known what to do with snow. So at least you know what to do with it.
Well, let me say this about the snow in D.C. When I lived there, one of the great stories that I did when the big snow in 1987, as Mayor Marion Barry, who I loved to death, but I had to cover him hard. This ain't a snow town.
And people, it's been a snow town since I've been here. And I've been here 66 years. And this was a snow town before that.
She set me up.
Said the man who was at the Super Bowl during the snow. He had to come home early, poor fellow. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now, still mildly inebriated from the Indiana Hoosiers National Football Championship, my good friend Chuck Snowden. Chuck, how are you tonight?
Greg, I'm great. We've had a lot of football this season so far, but I'm starting to make that transition now to the hoops. And the Lakers, Mr. LeBron James returns to Cleveland tonight. So when we finish the show, I'll be checking that out.
There you go. All right. So listen, we have a lot of topics to get to tonight, but this is a late breaking story. And I know it's going to consume some of our time because it's just, in the words of Ricky Ricardo, it's just so ridiculous. So,
Ridiculous.
It's just so ridiculous. Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl winning, 8 Super Bowl appearances, was snubbed as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, we got to get to this first because there's some things that just won't keep. Larry, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I heard that. The only thing I was wondering is if some people voted for other people because they knew everybody else was going to vote for Belichick to get in, so they may have had another person they like, and I'm just guessing. Otherwise, I couldn't see it.
Yeah, I think that's a possible scenario. David, what are your thoughts?
There's no excuse whatsoever. Right. It's petty, vindictive, and jealousy. That's what it is. Belichick, 6 Super Bowl wins as a head coach. Number 2 all-time in wins as a head coach. Whether you like him or not, and I don't particularly care for Bill Belichick, but at the bottom line, the record, the numbers speak for themselves. He's a great, great coach, period.
To your point, David, he's a hard man to like sometimes. He really is. But there is absolutely no challenge whatsoever. His record is incontrovertible. There's no doubt about it. I don't care who his quarterback was. I don't care. All that other stuff are byproducts. That man won. Chuck, enlighten us.
There's two things. Now that we've got the 24 hours since the announcement came out, I haven't seen or heard anyone supporting the fact that he shouldn't be in. Like I don't understand how that even worked because no one is saying it makes sense. I can see how it happened. And the second thing is, will it spill over into Tom Brady? Right? I mean, will Tom Brady not get in on the first ballot?
It's a good question. But I will tell you, the other first ballot Hall of Fame coaches, I believe, are Don Shula, Chuck Noll, and Tom Landry. Those are the other 3 first ballot Hall of Fame coaches. Now, all of those men were just remarkable coaches. But there's no way on God's green earth that you can tell me that they're better than him, better than Belichick was. It's a travesty. And I think that the real unfortunate part of everything is this takes away credibility from the Hall of Fame. This takes away some of their credibility. Right. So if you can't look beyond his fault as we say in church, and see his need and see his greatness, then it's something very wrong with the process. And I was telling you all earlier, I heard Michael Strahan say that maybe it's time to really think about who's voting. And I think, and I'm inclined to agree. But more. I'm sure we'll hear more on that, and at some point, maybe we'll hear what the rationale was when all these different voters. Nobody's going to step up and say, "I didn't vote for you." Is why you would get skewered. You probably would get drummed out.
You know what's really bad is we're not talking about who got in.
And there's another cloud. There's another cloud that'll hang over this.
That's what's really bad.
Exactly. That's so true. All right. Well, we had two great conference championship games, and let's break down the first one: the Patriots and the Broncos. So obviously, Bo Nix was out injured, and what I want to let's start off with, Larry, was his absence the difference in the game?
Actually, the weather was a real difference in the game. I don't know. I mean, it was a close game, but I think the weather took a lot away from it. It's hard to say. I mean, certainly when you got your number two guy there, he's your number two guy for a reason. But I think the weather really probably would have prevented Nix from doing a lot more, because it certainly made him do a whole lot either. So I think the weather was the main culprit. Yeah. So, the second string quarterback did make a questionable play with that fumble, though. I mean,
right.
I would think that he wouldn't do anything like that, even if he was a second string quarterback. But I really think the weather was a bigger burden for them.
Okay, so David, the Broncos held the Patriots to 10 points, but they still couldn't win, and now you got Nix out. What's your read on it?
Well, I'm not a big Bo Nix fan. Bo Nix has had an average year. Jarrett Stidham has been with the Broncos for 3 seasons under the great Sean Payton, for whatever. No, I don't think Bo Nix was a problem. I think it's just the weather did play a factor, and it's just one of those games. You got to score points, and neither team scored very many points. And in fact, Drake May passed for less than 100 yards.
80.
I mean, so Drake May, other than his feet, Drake May was good on his feet, but he wasn't that great in the air, and maybe the weather had a factor.
And Chuck, the weather, not only was it bad, but it got progressively worse.
Second half was a joke.
Yeah. What'd you see in that game?
I thought it came down to 2 things. The backward pass, that was a huge play. When the coach of the Broncos did not go for the field goal, he went for it on 4th down, and they didn't get it, and they threw the intercept. That was a big play as well. And when, like you said, when Drake May ran for that 1st down late in the game, it just came down to that. The weather was just the problem. And well, what can you do? If they don't have that backwards pass, it would have probably been a draw.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add is that Bo Nix, and I've said this on the show before, I think his legs are sometimes more dangerous than his arm. And given a game like we had and all that bad weather, his legs might have made a difference. Stidham, I think he was adequate, as a backup quarterback. He didn't really. No, he did hurt him. He hurt him with that fumble, and he hurt him with that interception at the end. So he did hurt him. But what talk about Stidham's performance as a backup, Larry?
Okay. As a backup, I thought he looked like a backup. Started off good, on the first possession and everything, but he sort of, he just seemed very average. And again, I think the weather was kicking his butt.
Right.
That backward pass was really the thing that killed him right there.
Right.
And I don't think that it seems odd for a pro to do that, whether he starts or as a backup, especially somebody that's not a rookie. But he's a backup, and he looked like it.
Yeah, he did. David, what do you think about Stidham? Oh, Stidham.
I don't think he played poorly at all. I mean, considering the conditions, considering what he was asked to do, on a notice that he didn't expect to even play. A backup usually is like, oh, please don't send me in. Please don't let anything happen. That's what they're thinking most times. He held up his end, and a mistake is going to happen with a backup. But he wasn't terrible. There are a lot of quarterbacks who have been terrible in pressure situations. Stidham wasn't terrible. And, for that to be the bar, if you can exceed the not terrible bar, you did all right as a backup.
Chuck, what are your thoughts? And as you describe Steedy, tell me what you thought about the coaching duo. How did the coaches stack up, Vrabel and Sean Payton? How did they stack up against each other?
Well, again, I still thought it came down to those two plays, and I thought that in retrospect, the Broncos coach probably wished he'd kicked the field goal instead of going for it on fourth down. But I don't think May looked good either. You know what I'm saying? I think the weather really affected, and especially the second half of the game. The weather was just took that whole game out. So they even scored in the second half. I think it was 10-7 at the halftime, wasn't it? I don't think anyone scored in the second half. I don't think.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. So the weather affected it. I don't think that the backup quarterback, what can you do in those conditions? It just came down to that bad. And by the way, I didn't even know what the call was. At first, I thought it was a forward pass, and they just called it incomplete. Right. They thought it was a fumble, but they looked at it, but it wasn't. It was the fact that he had thrown it. They stood behind the line of scrimmage, and that's why it was a live ball.
Yeah. So how did the coaching duel stack up to you, Larry? How did Peyton and Vrabel? How'd that stack up?
Well, somebody's getting a lot of heat for not kicking a field goal. And I was sitting there with my son, and I didn't like the play they called. I was like, okay, you're going to go for it, have a decent play. And it was an ugly rollout to his right with a lot of traffic there on the short side of the field. My son said, I don't know why he just didn't kick the field goal. Other than that one call right there, I thought they probably did pretty much the same.
Right.
Larry, what are your thoughts? I'm sorry, David, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's hindsight is all, as they say, is 20/20. But the reality is it was earlier in the game. The Broncos were up 7-0. I'm not going to defend Sean Payton because you know how I feel about the fraud.
Right.
How we feel.
But I think what Sean Payton was thinking was if we keep pushing this down and score a touchdown, we're going to be up 14-0. And that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
But it was early in the game, relatively speaking. And, but others would say, and with good reason, you take the points, particularly if bad weather's coming. And he didn't take the points. So, you can look at it in a number of different ways. I'm not going to crucify Sean Payton for that decision or Denver's failure to score. It is what it is. It's a bad weather game, and it would have been different if the weather was good.
And for the record, New England scored 3 in the third quarter.
Oh, they did? Okay.
7-7.5. But it was probably early in the before all of that snowstorm came. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure one of Sean Payton's thoughts as he looks back at the game was, if I had known the weather was going to go completely to crap, I probably would have kicked that field goal knowing now what I didn't know back then. But I just think whenever you get in that red zone, you gotta come away with points.
There's not many times these guys have to make those. They pay you to make those kinds of decisions. For example, when Signetti in that famous game, against championship game against Miami, he had the field goal team on their way out, and then he called them back.
Yeah.
They went for it on fourth down, got a touchdown out of it. It's iconic now. It's those decisions that you have to make, those big decisions. And of course, if you don't make it, you're going to get questioned. And that's where we are here with this coach.
Can I interject one thing, and just to take you a little bit off target? You know how I feel about Sean Payton, and we talked about Bill Belichick. At some point, people will consider whether Sean Payton is Hall of Fame worthy, which he is. Mm-hmm. But how about Bounty frickin' Gate? How about being suspended for a damn year? Let's talk about that. But he's not disliked despite all of that. And I think that was part of Belichick's problem is he's heavily disliked. And Sean Payton is liked for whatever damn reason. Right. But anyway, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So that to your point, there's two things that get me into place with Sean Payton that I'm in. The first one is he never paid the price for Bountygate. Secondly, I got a challenge on how he treated Russell. I thought he treated Russell
shabby.
I thought he treated him really poorly, and maybe that's too personal. Maybe I'm all caught up in my feelings over Wilson because I think he's a tremendous human, and I don't like when good people get treated poorly. And so, Sean Payton, you're a bum.
Amen. Amen.
All right, let's go to the next game. Man, this was a really good football game. Sam Darnold throws for 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. Does this change the narrative on him in a championship game to get him to the Super Bowl? Does this change the narrative, Larry?
For some reason, you can go into reverse order sometimes. I want to hit this other guy's first sometimes.
Okay, I got you.
As far as I don't know. I guess some people will probably say that. I'm the type of person that looks at how's the person playing. I think the last 2 years he's played well. You have a bad game every now and then, he got crucified. I wonder what would happen if they didn't win the Super Bowl. I don't know. I think some people won't trust him. He had such a slow start. He started off with the Jets. I think the first year he was with the Jets, they tanked or something like that. He lost a lot of games. Plus, also in that draft, I think Josh Allen and
Lamar.
Yeah, it went. So he's compared against them who had a lot more instant success. He's not as good as those guys in my view, but I think he's a decent quarterback. Yeah. But other people may not feel that way.
I think that guy's getting ready to address the audience right now.
I mean, he's played well some seasons he hasn't played well. The last 2 years, it's hard to knock him, as far as I'm concerned.
Does this change the narrative on Darnold being a choke artist or not living up to expectations, Chuck?
Heck no. I told you it was the dumbest. I've been very strong about this. The dumbest move I saw in the National Football League last year is when Minnesota did not franchise or re-sign Darnold after he went 14-3. Now, he all he did was go to another team. Not only did he go 14-3, he is the number 1 seed in the NFC. He won his playoff, now he's in the Super Bowl. And he had a hell of a game, 346 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, and he stared down who I think is going to be the league MVP, Matthew Stafford. It was one hell of a football game, and he went toe-to-toe. And he's been playing great. Are you kidding me? So for $33 million, that's called a bargain. That's
a bargain. That is a bargain. Relatively speaking, that's a bargain. David, what are your thoughts?
Let me say this. I don't want to criticize Chuck because he's adopted Darnold. So he's got a big family growing.
The phrase you're looking for, David, is Chuck, you're right. You can just say that, and then you can.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because why? Why? Because this man who was a bum for a while, 5 teams. He wasn't even the first pick of Minnesota. He wasn't the first pick of Seattle because Seattle wanted to keep Geno Smith. Laugh if you want. Geno has the same kind of trajectory and career as Sam Darnold. He resurrected his career until he went to the bum Raiders, which was a mistake if he had to think about it again, because Geno Smith would be in the Super Bowl instead of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold led the league in turnovers, interceptions, and fumbles. That's not to be overlooked. 5 teams gave up on him. He was with 5 teams. 3 of those teams gave up on him because he deserved to be given up on. But thank goodness he's resurrected his career. I give him that. But to say he's going to be one of the superstars of the league, nah. Let me tell you about the Super Bowl winners. Trent Dilfer, what happened to him? Nothing. Joe Flacco, old savior. Jim Plunkett, 2 Super Bowls. Doug Williams, who we all love. Jim McMahon, These people all won Super Bowls. Are they in the Hall of Fame? No, not one of them. And will Sam Darnold be in the Hall of Fame? No, not at all.
Time will tell. But we're not trying to say
there's a lot of difference between being a Hall of Fame.
I know. I know to be a starting. My goodness.
You know I was going to take off on your boy, on your adopted son, Sam Darnold.
Well, it was just the facts, David. I was just arguing the facts. If your quarterback, if you had a quarterback in the Colts with your Colt team and your team went 14,
I'd be embracing them like
exactly.
Like
and by the way, I
I
was going to say you want to sign Daniel Jones, and he didn't have the season that guy had with the Minnesota Vikings, and they just let him walk.
Look, I take what I get. Look, it is what it is.
Daniel
Jones will be back. Just like my Pacers.
The situation with Minnesota and
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, it reminds me of San Diego getting rid of Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Because he actually had played well the year before, but they decided they was going to get rid of him and pull Phil Rivers in there.
Here's the thing: they did
better than Eli or Phil Rivers.
And again, I don't want to relitigate. They could have franchised him for a year and let him be the mentor to JJ. But they made a decision to throw JJ in there, and it just didn't work out. And I'm not surprised.
But in fairness to that point, Chuck, that's the way it's handled when you draft a quarterback that high, like they did for JJ McCarthy. You give him an opportunity. He's going to be the starter. Sam Darnold was brought in as a backup, and that's the way it was. But he got the opportunity to play and shine when McCarthy went down. And you can't overlook the fact that when you draft a quarterback that high in the first round, that guy's going to play. So we can hindsight all that we want, but that's the facts about when you draft a quarterback in the first round.
All right, I'm gonna stay with you, David, because I want you to think about this. The offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, Kubiak, is like a criminal mastermind. All of these quarterbacks that you look at that have these that do well, develop well, and win, there's either a really good quarterback coach or a good offensive coordinator. First of all, is Kubiak head coaching material, and could he be the difference in the Darnold turnaround?
He's had a chance. He was at Denver, and he flopped. He's an assistant, and there's nothing wrong with being a good assistant.
Right.
I don't think he's head coaching material. I don't.
Okay. Is he the difference in Darnold's performance, though?
Darnold was he with Minnesota last year? No.
No. No, Kubiak was not. No, he was not.
No, I think Darnold is developing on his own, and I give Darnold credit. I'm not going to adopt him like Chuck, but I give Darnold credit for improving his career, even though he led the league in turnovers.
All right, Larry, talk about the Kubiak factor with regard to
I think David, I was thinking the same thing David said. He didn't play in Minnesota he wasn't coaching them last year in Minnesota, and he played well. A lot of times players get better when they get to their mid to late 20s. I mean, at one time that was the norm. Now, it's a lot of pressure to play them, particularly if you're drafted so high. But I know he started off with the Jets on a horrible team, and I know they were trying to tank the first 2 years there. So it was kind of unfair to him, but I didn't think he played well anyway. And David's raising another good point. He's got to cut down on his turnovers, because he can have that in the Super Bowl, and all these naysayers will go back and look at one game saying he was horrible. But when you look at his performance over the last 2 years, in my view, he's just grown and gotten better.
Absolutely, he has gotten better. I will give him that.
By the way, when he was in Minnesota, he has this guy Kevin. I don't know what Kevin, the head coach of the Vikings, and he's kind of a quarterback whisperer as well. And he coached him up, and that's why I was surprised that Kevin let him go. And also, he spent a 1-year backup role with Shanahan in the with the 49ers. So he went from Carolina to 1 year with the 49ers as a backup. Minnesota, he was a starter, went 14-3 with the Seattle, 14-3. I mean, come on, man. What else do you want this cat to do?
They do have a guy. They do have a guy in Seattle called how do you in Jigba?
Yes. Yes. They both grew together, though. We didn't know much about Njigba until this year, right?
If you were Ohio State fan,
Ohio
you did.
State, there's your Ohio State Bowl. Yeah.
Right. But here's
Patrick, my man.
How you doing, Patrick?
And by the way, the turnovers came early in the year. The last 6 games or so, he hadn't turned the ball over. He really hasn't. And in these playoff run, he hasn't turned it over at all.
All right, so I'm gonna stay with you, Chuck. Kenny Walker, the third, has got to have some of the best feet I've seen in the NFL this year. What was his impact on that game?
I thought it was big. But here's the thing. I thought he had more yards than he really had. He had like 70 yards rushing, but I thought he had over 100 because it looked like he was making every big run when needed. The team is very balanced. They have a good defense. They have a good special teams. They have in fact, I thought the game came down to the special teams situation. When the guy fumbles the ball on the kickoff, the kick returner, and the game was the final score was what, 31-27 or something like that? Yep. It came down to me, it came down to that play. To me, the special teams is what did the Rams in, because both teams, not only is Enigma great, but Puka is just as great on the other side, and he had an equally great game. So both offenses look well. Both key players on those teams looked great, and I don't think either defense looked great. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So David, Kenny Walker III, young Skywalker, how did he impress you?
He's a great runner. He's been a good runner, except he's been injury prone for a couple of years until this year. Having the ball in his hands, he can dip and dance. He's a very good running back, and Seattle's lucky to have him. And he played well. Those 60 yards that he gained were important yards. They were important yards. That's why it seemed like he had maybe had a 100-yard game.
Right.
Yeah, I just 62 yards. I just didn't think the stats could possibly be right the way he was running. Larry, what are your thoughts on not only Kenny Walker III, but just how he helped balance the offense out?
Well, the stats were right because most of what he did was in the first half. They pretty much shut him down in the second half. But in the first half, he looked like he was running all over him. And they missed their other running back. I can't think of the name of the guy that got hurt.
Charbonneau.
Right. I think that, that's a nice balance back and forth. Even though the other guy that played didn't do poorly. But no, gosh, he looked like Barry Sanders out there. He was like juking on people. Looking great.
I saw him turn one real linebacker completely around, and I was like, that is Barry Sanders-ish. Very much so.
He met him in the hole, and he made the cut, and the linebacker went one way. Didn't even put a hand on him.
Hey, Chuck, it was like playing two-hand touching. You couldn't even touch him.
You couldn't touch him. It was unbelievable in that tight little space. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, man. All right. So who is NFL Coach of the Year and why? David.
Mike Vrabel. He turned around a team that was 4-13. Gerard Mayo, God bless him, but he was lousy as a head coach. He's an assistant. Mike Vrabel came in with a plan. I don't see how you can deny him Coach of the Year.
Chuck.
Well, I'm going to deny him. So I think Mike McDonald should be Coach of the Year. Now, I know it's a regular season award. I get that, right? But what McDonald has done, and maybe because he's up in, Seattle, Washington, we don't hear that much about it. That was the best division in all of football, right? With the Rams and the 49ers. Yeah. They were the number 1 seed in the NFC. And he took a quarterback, had him for 1 year, got him to the Super Bowl, and the defense was solid. So even though I like Vrabel, I do. I'm not saying you cannot be wrong. I mean, this is like a flip the coin situation, but I'd give it to McDonald over Vrabel. I just don't think Vrabel's schedule, I know this is so petty of me, but I don't think their schedule was very good. And I also don't think they played well. So I know they've won their 2 games in the playoffs, but a lot of that was either the weather or the quarterback on the other team stunk. So I'd give it to McDonald.
Who's your Coach of the Year, Larry?
I could go with either one of those guys.
Yeah.
I guess Vrabel Vrabel will probably get it. And I also like, you guys heard me say that Shanahan. In that same division that Chuck's talking about, I thought he overcame a lot of things, a lot of injuries this year. And, I looked at Vrabel the same way. They play. I don't know if he has the talent, especially offense. Defensively, he seems to get a lot out of him. But I look at San Francisco's coach, and I thought they won a lot of games with a lot of people out. But I could go with even one of those guys. All of those guys did a great job.
Yeah, so I won't be upset whoever gets it, but I am a McDonald guy just because that division, to your point, Chuck, is so tough. I mean, he came out of that division 14-3. That's hard to do. Yep. And given the people, you got to play all these teams twice. I mean, you got to play the 49ers twice. You got to play
Rams twice.
You got to play the Rams twice. I mean, that's you can easily see splitting with both of them right away. I mean, that's
what happened.
I'm saying, but they ran the table with everybody else. I mean, the Buccaneers. I mean, everybody they played was tough. I think that the Patriots, they won where they were supposed to win. I think they collapsed a few times, but I also think that Vrabel just did a phenomenal job. So whichever one gets it, I'm okay with it. But I'm leaning toward McDonald just because I think it's a tougher division that he was in.
The Raiders beat the Patriots the first game of the season, and they won 11 in a row. I just can't get that out of my mind.
Okay, so that's not nothing. That's not nothing.
The reason the Raiders won that first game was because of my man, Geno Smith, who played his best game of the year as the first game of the year.
David, he is trash.
No, he's not trash. He is.
Charles Snowden at third. That's why they won.
He's Sam Darnold.
Terrible
preview.
Well, he won't be back on that team this year. I can tell you that right now.
Probably not. The IU quarterback is going to the Raiders.
Right, push him in.
All right, so let's stay with coaches. There were 10 openings, 3 remain. Chuck, is there any coaching vacancy that's been filled that you either really like or really hate?
That's a good question. So that's a really good question. So I guess I'm a little shocked at Stefanski, immediately getting a new job with the Atlanta Falcons, given he struggled a little bit up there in Cleveland, right? Even though he was coach of the year twice up there. So I was pretty much surprised at that. I think that move. I'm also a little surprised that McCarthy has come out to take over the Pittsburgh Steelers, when usually a Steelers take somebody, as David and I were talking offline, in their 30s and they're there for 15, 18 years. I find that an odd hire, if you will. But everything else, I guess, is about right. I mean, even Robert Saleh got another shot right away with the Titans. So I think those are the surprises. I'll make one other point.
Yeah.
The Raiders, I think, are waiting for, David was mentioning this earlier, is waiting for Kubiak. As soon as the season is, they're interviewing him in Seattle this weekend, but I don't think they can do the final thing until after the Super Bowl. Yeah. They're hoping to secure Kubiak to be their next head coach. That's the tea leaves. That's what the tea leaves are saying. And so we'll see how that goes.
All right. So, David, any coaching change that you like or really dislike, and is there of the openings, is there somebody you hope gets one of these 3 remaining openings, the Browns, Raiders, and Cardinals?
The Browns are already in. I think they picked their guy.
Yeah, I think they have it today, right?
They got Todd Monken. Todd Monken's taking the Browns' job.
Right. There's 2 open jobs, Raiders and Cardinals.
Cardinals are the open jobs.
All right, let me say this, and it's a little off point. But where are the black coaches? Where are they? We had 10 openings. Not one went to an African-American head as a head coach. Disgraceful. That said, where's Byron Leftwich? He's at Colorado as a quarterback assistant. Byron Leftwich was the offensive coordinator
Buccaneers, yeah.
for the Buccaneers when they won the Super Bowl. And who did they give the credit to? Tom Brady, as if Byron Leftwich had nothing to do with it. I've heard nothing about Byron Leftwich, and that's a damn shame. If he doesn't get one of these open jobs, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace and a shame. So the NFL need to be ashamed of itself. That said, I don't care anymore. I really don't, because the NFL sometimes really lets me down, and I'm let down. And not one person in the media has said even the word Rooney Rule. Are they scared of the man at 1600 in Pennsylvania? I think they are.
Yeah. Well, I think all of them are adhering to the Rooney Rule.
Well, why can't we talk about it? Why can't the talking heads talk about it? Why can't the word even be mentioned? Not one commentator has said a word that has mentioned the Rooney Rule. They've said nothing. They've said nothing about the fact that there are no black coaches picked. Not one. And I'm pissed.
I've probably asked this before on the show. Where does Robert Saleh fit? He's not white, or I guess he's not white or black.
Yeah, he's like
Muslim?
Arab.
Yeah, he looks like Mid-Eastern or something.
Yeah, I can't remember the country he's from.
Is he a minority? I guess what I'm asking.
He technically falls under the Rooney Rule, but I don't care about that. I'm talking about African-American coaches.
Yeah, I think they know what we mean when we say the Rooney Rule. We're talking about black coaches. Since 80% of the league is black, 75% of the league is black. I'm having a hard time swallowing that pill too, David. And I'm glad you brought it up. That's not off the topic at all. I think that is the topic. Larry, what are your thoughts
on
coaching vacancies? Anyone you really like, anyone you really dislike, and is there somebody that you hope really gets a job?
No, I mean, they all seem kind of nondescript. I mean, the firing seem more exciting than the hiring. So, yeah, none of them really are making me jump up and down. I was kind of surprised that the Giants hired Harbaugh, but other than that, no, I wasn't really moved by it at all. Maybe for some of the reason that Dave was talking about.
I think the point that Larry makes is about the whole Buffalo situation, because Buffalo fires their head coach, right? They promote the offensive coordinator to the head coach. Yeah. So everybody, so the quarterback has the 4 or 5 turnovers in the game. The rest of some referee calls in there that was controversial, and the only person that's accountable was the head coach. But everything else,
that kind of surprised me.
Everything gets run back except for the head coach. I think that's interesting.
And the irony, if you look at Josh Allen, all these other years he's played great in the playoffs, and just got beat by somebody whose team played better than his team.
Right.
This was his year, and he had the horrible game. Even though he's still they hung in there, almost won the game.
Right.
He had the horrible game, and the announcements that I think we might have talked about it last week, at least off the air we did, that their owner said about his rationale. I just thought it was crazy. Knocking his current players, saying, well, he wanted to draft him,
The wide receiver, right.
Let me say this about Buffalo real quick. There's dysfunction in Buffalo. If you get rid of the head coach and you keep everybody else, there's something going on. Everybody else was kept.
Did you hear the owner speak?
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that's a dysfunction. When you have it at that level, that's a dysfunction.
I think they've made 7 out of the last 8 playoffs or something. It's like that guy's run has been pretty amazing.
There's some stuff going on in Buffalo that nobody's talking about. I don't know what it is, but there's something happening in Buffalo. If the head coach is gone, but his whole staff remains, they're making him the scapegoat, and the owner is a piece of crap. Buffalo gonna get a brand new stadium and a bad team.
So here's a really interesting rub with the Buffalo job. First off, it's crystal clear McDermott is the scapegoat. They're saying, whether they're saying it, explicitly or not, their actions are saying this is the reason we didn't get further. Now, what's really interesting is Josh Allen has been a part of all the head coaching interviews. He's been a part of the process. And everybody that they brought in had a relationship with him. So they're building this franchise around Josh Allen, the offensive coordinator. Everybody that they brought in for an interview has a previous relationship with Josh Allen. So if you don't know Josh, don't even apply.
What that means, based on the owner, is next year if they don't win the Super Bowl, Josh Allen is going to get fired because he's going to come back and say he picked the offensive coordinator.
Well, he may not get fired, but he'll get thrown under the bus. He'll definitely get thrown under the bus. And I will tell you, of all the coaching jobs that were filled, I agree, Dave. They were really inconsequential. Or, like a long fest. Nothing exciting about it. But why isn't Brian Flores a head coach in NFL now? Why is he a head coach?
He's suing the league. That might be a part of it.
If that was the reason, he wouldn't be a defensive coordinator. I mean, if that was the reason, the last guy that sued the league that took a knee, he ain't even seen any crack of daylight in the NFL. When you sue the league and that's a problem, the Miami Dolphins owner is trash. I mean, that guy is a dirtbag, right? So he told them to throw those in. There's more smoke. There's just as much a fire as there is smoke in that situation, because there's no way the Vikings owner would have hired him if that was one of the, and they collude. If this was collusion, Brian Flores wouldn't even be able to buy a ticket to a game. But
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get if Kubiak doesn't get the Raiders job. I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Flores doesn't get the Raiders job, if they can find a good offensive coordinator to help mentor Mendoza, because he fits the Raider persona, if you will. And Davis would not be afraid to bring him on board and make him the face, etc. So, what's up, Terry Reed?
Terry Reed from my neighborhood.
Put away that suntan lotion, Terry. I know the weather's nice in Indianapolis. Stop it.
But Greg, not too many people want to hire somebody outright if they're suing them.
Listen. I'm not. I will not debate the voice of reason. I will not. Not now, not never. I will not debate that.
I thought another funny hire is when the Dolphins hired the Packers defensive coordinator to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. I thought that was kind of odd because I had not heard that guy's name mentioned through this process, and he turns up to be the head coach of the Dolphins. I don't know. There's just some places I just don't know what they're doing. And the Dolphins are one of them, and the Cardinals are one of them too. Because I don't even know who they're talking about that could take the Cardinals' job. Like, I don't even hear that come up.
So the Cardinals are right up there with the Jets. It's a head coach in the electric chair, right? I mean, it's just nobody stays there long because the organization is trash. Nobody in the organization has a clue of what they're doing. So it's just a matter of time before every head coach that comes in gets the electric chair. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. But
the Jets are a mess. I don't know what's going on with the Jets. And it's so funny because this group here, we're very nice and we're very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, we haven't criticized the Jets at all this year, and they deserve to be criticized. That whole coaching and that whole thing is a mess.
We don't criticize them because they haven't been relevant.
Right. Well,
we don't criticize. We can do a whole show on it. But
they fired every coach on that staff except for Glenn. They kept him, and everybody else got. He fired all of his staff. Of course, he stayed. I don't know who's going to be their quarterback. It's just a mess. The last 4 or 5 games, they lost by a lot each one of those games.
As much as I love black coaches, Aaron Glenn is an assistant.
But you know what? I mean, he went into an ugly situation.
I agree.
A couple of their games were quite competitive. They just couldn't win them.
Yeah.
But he was in a horrible situation.
We have a joke around our house. We have a joke around our house. We say that Charles has more interceptions this season than the New York Jets.
That's right. They didn't even get a single interception.
He had one, and he has more than the entire Jets team.
And Aaron Glenn was a defensive back.
I know.
So that don't bode well for his prowess. But I got to tell you, Terry just brought up Atlanta and how cold it is there. I'm telling you, Atlanta Falcons, this is my only comment about the coaches. They traded in a basketball for a volleyball. I mean, Stefanski is not going to do anything down there. He's not going to do a thing. I guarantee you, in 2 to 3 years, he'll be in the ejector seat. He'll be in the ejector seat with a parachute on, trying to find a soft place to land.
And he brought his offensive coordinator with him from Cleveland.
Yeah. And again, he treated Shedeur.
Not his defensive coordinator,
his offensive coordinator.
Yeah. He treated Shedeur Sanders pretty bad too.
In fact, Larry, in fact, the defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz is pissed because they brought in Todd Monken to make him the head coach, and Schwartz thought he should be the head coach.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Schwartz doesn't end up. If he doesn't, another one. I'd be surprised if he's with Cleveland next year, and they want him to stay.
But after what Schwartz did in Detroit, I'm not sure how he feels. Like
wasn't he the 0-16?
He was bad, and he was the one that Harbaugh slapped on the back. He said, "Ow, ow!" And
he's mad. They say he is very mad.
He slapped me on the back like that. Like, what?
I know.
Yeah,
he's an assistant.
Yeah. All right. So we got the Super Bowl next week. This is going to be, I think, a really good physical game where somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. Chuck, who wins and by how?
Seahawks by a touchdown.
All right, David.
Look, I call this the beast mode.
Remake
rehab game. Seattle wins. And I know I will hear all kind of crap from Chuck about Sam Darnold winning a Super Bowl, and Chuck, I will raise his hand in victory. Seattle's going to win.
All right.
Seattle's going to win.
How much they can win by?
3 points.
Ooh, okay. Wow. All right, Larry. Who wins and by how much?
Seattle wins by at least 10.
You must be reading my notes. I got Seattle by 10 points. I got them winning it by 10. I think it's going to be a really convincing victory.
I have a caveat, provided Sam Darnold doesn't turn the ball over.
But Drake May turns the ball over a lot too now.
No, but I'm talking about they'll win by 10 if he doesn't turn the ball over. Otherwise, it might be closer.
If those ghosts show up, Seattle's going to lose.
So David, I don't watch the Pro Bowl much just because it's become something of a.
This is a good subject.
But Shedeur Sanders is in the Pro Bowl. What are your thoughts on that?
I have no problem with it because the Pro Bowl ain't the Pro Bowl. They stopped playing football at the Pro Bowl. I mean, actually tackling with meaning about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Shedeur, and probably longer than that, right? Shedeur, I have no problem with that. They're just trying to clown him, and there's a lot of hate for Shedeur. He had a decent John Elway threw 7 touchdown passes in his rookie year. I think if my numbers are correct, so Shedeur getting picked, the fifth player. The 5th best player, the 6th best player, the 7th best player get picked. They're going to be playing touch football or flag football. So what? I hope Shedeur lights him up, and I hope he's coached by Eli Manning.
Larry, what are your thoughts?
I guess I'm looking at it similar to David. To me, I look at it more of it's more of a show. It's not really a competitive game. He's well known, so people might tune in to see. I guess people will tune in to see it. Melania's coming out too, so that's a lot of competition right there. But
Lord.
I think he's well known. It's not the same as making All Pro, so keep that in mind. Just because you play in Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl doesn't mean you're All Pro.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Chuck, what's your thoughts?
So when I heard it, I couldn't believe it when I heard it, like initially.
And we thought it was fake news, right? We thought it was fake news.
I thought it was fake news. I couldn't believe I heard. But what I've heard since then is there's a list of AFC quarterbacks, who turned it down. They, went and they were all injured or this or that, and so they just got to him as they went through the list. But when I first heard it, I thought, oh no, this isn't true. I got to consider the source. Something's crazy here.
All right.
But they're not even playing a real game.
Right.
I mean, they're not wearing pads. They're wearing flags.
It's complete exhibition football. It's complete exhibition. And
it's not like the baseball and basketball all-star games because even though those are kind of like basketball's a show too, but at least they have the stars are playing in the show.
Right.
All right.
This show is
Anything
nothing.
else on pro football? Anything else NFL? Anything that we didn't cover?
Nah.
All right.
I think we did it. We got through the whole season, and now we just got the Super Bowl left. So,
all right. I got one topic in the NBA. Well, actually, I got two, but let's start with this one. OKC Thunder, they've lost 2 straight games. They lost to the Raptors, and David, wait for it, the Pacers. The Pacers beat them. Now, it was a 47-point night for SGA, but is the Thunder kind of coming back down to earth, Larry? Are they coming back to the pack a little bit?
Not really. I mean, they were at a pace that was unsustainable early on. And remember the first game of the season when the Pacers played them, I think it went to overtime. It was a very good game. But no, they're getting everybody's best shot every night. I look for them to certainly be among the contenders down the stretch, as long as they can stay healthy, particularly SGA.
All right, David, thoughts on the Thunder?
Thunder odds on to win another championship. Halliburton is hurt. They have no opposition. Don't you laugh, Chuck. Don't you laugh. Because if Halliburton hadn't gotten hurt, we'd be talking about the Pacers as the defending NBA champions.
All right, Chuck, let it rip.
So listen, only thing is, I don't think Haberstein and Jay Will in maybe one or two of those games played. I saw them the other night in
Jay Will hasn't played. You're right. Neither one of Haberstein, Big Man hasn't played for about
for a while. So he hasn't played, and I don't think Jay Will played either. I know they won the other night, and he didn't play. Jay Will didn't play. So when they don't have all their guys, and these are kind of the dog days of the NBA. It's a long, long season. I think they're going to be okay. Here's the thing: if Wemby and that crew is healthy, that's going to be, if they come to the two of them in the finals of the West, that's going to be a hell of a series if they're both healthy.
Okay. All right. So, David, I've been watching the Giannis soap opera that's going on, and it's getting uglier by the day. And it's not so much, I think his days there are numbered. I think that's clear. But he's talking about firing his agent and hiring Rich Paul in Clutch Sports, which I read Rich Paul's book. And I'm telling you, I'm a fan of the man. I think he's incredible. But what's the drama with Giannis? What are your thoughts on whether or not he'll finish out in Milwaukee? And it may take the summer and changing agents. What's going on with Giannis?
I think some of this is media driven because we all, those of us in the media often need a story. Giannis, who's one of the greatest players of all time, can't be on a team like Milwaukee that's struggling, blah, 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 blah. Look, his whole family moved to Milwaukee. His brother is on the team. He's not going to say, I want to publicly demand a trade, but he's 13 seasons in. Back in our day, guys ended their careers at 13 seasons.
Yeah.
Bill Russell only played 13 seasons. Oscar Robertson and Jerry West played 14 seasons. Wilt Chamberlain, 14 seasons. Giannis is already at 13. He's played a full career. I'm not saying he's washed because he's early 30s. He's a great player, but I just don't see him leaving Milwaukee. He loves that city, and that city loves him. He just wants to win, but a lot of it, oftentimes, look at who's talking about it. It's like we want to see him leave. It's like we in the media want to see him leave. I have not heard him ever say, I want to leave Milwaukee. When I hear him in an interview, see him speak with his lips moving, then I'll believe that he's going to leave Milwaukee.
All right, Chuck, what do you think?
So I think I love when David does the historical, it puts things in some historical perspective. That thing about Russell and Robertson and Chamberlain, that was pretty cool stuff. I mean, David's not good at evaluating quarterbacks, but he's good with the historical.
Excuse me?
He's very good with the historical stuff. So here's the thing with Giannis. I think Giannis is ready to move. I just think because of his salary, and you have to do this the player for play, it's just hard to execute a trade like that because he doesn't want to go to like a bump, like the Wizards or something. So he wants to go to a team that he could put over the top. But it's just hard to pull that off unless you. I mean, the Knicks would trade Cat for Giannis tomorrow, but I don't think that the Bucks want Cat. I think Houston would be a nice landing spot for Giannis, but I don't know. And I'll tell you who doesn't get a lot of blame in Milwaukee, and he should, because Milwaukee in the offseason got that guy some pieces. But Doc Rivers, man, I mean, Doc Rivers he never gets criticized to the extent that he should. And
he's a good man, Chuck. He's a good man.
Please. Doc, please.
Doc dodges a lot of bullets. He does. They all finally hit him, but he dodges a lot of bullets. Right, what do you thought?
I think they probably will trade him. I think there's a lot of interest out there. And actually, I still, last year I always thought people overlooked Giannis. He shot 60%, was the second leading scorer in the league. And no talk about him being MVP because his team didn't play well. He's had some bad luck after they won a championship. His partners have been hurt. Middleton for 1 year, then Dame Lillard after that. Yeah. So I think the media, I think David was on to something about the media talking about trading him. And I don't think it was his idea, but as that talk has gone on, all of a sudden the Bucks have been listening to trade things. The problem is, Chuck, it ain't so much his salary. They're not giving him up for cheap, so teams are going to have to give up a lot. And right. I'm not sure who can give up. Well, the team I mentioned one time before, I guess it was on the show, Oklahoma City seems to have a lot of assets.
Right.
And that might be a whole, I don't know if they'll do that, but they have draft picks coming in the future and some players they can send to Milwaukee. It's still probably not lose a lot, but it's not too many teams that can really give up a lot for them. I mean, the Knicks, they're talking about the Knicks. If I'm not getting Brunson, you're not getting Johnson.
That's what I mean about somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean about not. So when I say money for money, that other person has to be a really, really good player. That's why they're paying.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll bet you Philadelphia would trade Embiid for Giannis, but if
Milwaukee's not going to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to. The last thing I heard was Kumingas and Jimmy Butler to Milwaukee but why? If you were going,
you heard that on ESPN today, right?
Yeah.
Somebody said crazy stuff.
Yeah, why would Milwaukee do that?
Yeah.
I mean, it just don't make no sense. So I think it's hard to pull off the deal at this of that magnitude.
And he's still playing at a very, very high level.
Right.
Well, let's get ready for closing comments. But this is the only thing I'll say about Giannis and the potential trade. I always say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but actually I am. And I will tell you that the fact that I'm hearing more and more about Clutch Sports and Rich Paul and on his relationship with LeBron James, it is not off the table that he could become a Laker. That makes them instantly better. They become an instant contender with Giannis. But I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know about the money. I don't know about any of that. No. But I'm telling you, these guys can figure things out. Rich Paul is one magnificent negotiator and agent. And
would Dallas, would Milwaukee want Anthony Davis? I don't think so. But there's another deal that Milwaukee would accept. That Dallas would accept.
Yeah.
But Milwaukee wouldn't accept.
Who on the Lakers are you going to give up?
You can't do it.
Luka and who else? Luka and who else are you giving up?
I don't know. I don't know what the parts look like. I don't know what the deal looks like. But with Rich Paul and LeBron in the mix, anything's possible. Yeah. All right. Closing comments. Larry.
I don't have any.
David.
I just want to remind people that the 2026 NCAA Final Four will once again be seen and heard and played in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana, in about 8, 9, 10 weeks. The sports capital.
The Chamber of Commerce has spoken.
Of the world.
It's hard to debate it. It's hard to debate it.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that.
So listen, I'm going to try to do this fast. I know David and those Pacers aren't doing so well, and I just want to talk about this freshman class in college basketball. I know going forward, now that football is wrapping up, we're going to be talking about pro and college basketball. And I want to mention a couple of names real quick. Kansas has a kid named Darren Peterson, hell of a player. He's going to probably be the number 1 pick in the draft. BYU has a kid named AJ DeBonsta. I saw him the other night against Arizona, which is the number 1 team in the country. He played really, really well, didn't shoot well, but he too is going to be in that 1, 2, or 3. Cameron Boozer, Carlos Boozer's son at Duke. Again, these are freshmen, and they're all averaging 23, 24 points. Caleb Wilson at North Carolina, another 6'9" wing, can do everything. He's going to be in that top draft class too. Kingston Fleming from Houston. Houston rarely gets a 5-star, and they got a 5-star point guard named Kingston Fleming. You'll hear that name. Mikael Brown at Louisville. Nate Emmett, who's from Reston, Virginia, plays with Tennessee. 6'9" wing now, 6'9". And then Darius Acuff. He's a little point guard like a Steph Marbury. He's with Arkansas. These are all freshmen, all averaging big numbers, all making a difference, and they're going to be in your draft next year. So, David, you got to figure out which one of these guys you like, because those sorry Pacers, your Pacers.
Excuse me. Don't you dare insult my Pacers. When Tyrese Superman Halliburton gets well.
Did you hear the joke that Halliburton told the other day when he said they were talking about the egos of the Olympic team? And they said, listen, everybody, you got to check your ego. Everybody's not going to get playing time. Everybody here is a star. We got this. So he said he looked around the room. He saw LeBron. He saw Steph. He saw KD. He said, shit, they're talking about me. I'm the one that ain't going to be playing.
But he was a star last year, and we will always have that.
Especially, he was.
We will always have that.
Yes.
All right, I got one quick closing comment, and we'll wrap it up. I am so impressed with the class of the Steelers organization. I heard Art Rooney II, the owner, talking about what he was going to do for the outgoing coach, and I got to tell you, I've never heard anything like this. He's going to accelerate his 2 years left, pay it in full. All the time he's lost with his family, he's going to send him on a world tour trip with him and his family for all the time he's lost with his family, and he's already spoken to the board about putting a plaque, a statue, or something in his. He wants him to leave with warm memories and totally grateful for his service. That is a classy.
Never heard.
Oh my God, I hadn't heard that. That's great.
I mean, it blew me away, but it just speaks to the quality of that organization, the Rooney family, and how they value people and not just winning football games. It was something. It was something special.
Yes.
I just had off the Steelers, man. Just if every organization was like that, boy, the league would be something special. So that's all we have for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. What a great night of sports talk with real fellas.
Good job, Gregory. Really good.